So good evening, everyone, on this wonderful first Friday of the new year. It's very exciting to be with you and to have two wonderful feature poets and then an open mic. I want to start by having a moment of recognition and grief. Poet and marvelous human being, Nikki Giovanni.
Mm.
I like what she says. She says, writers don't write from experience, although many are hesitant to admit that they don't. If you write from experience, you'll get maybe one book, maybe three poems. Writers write from empathy. That really opens the canvas, doesn't it? Andre Gide said, everything that needs to be said has already been said. But since no one was listening, everything must be said again. That invites a certain amount of freedom, doesn't it? And Paul Hostovsky, a member of the PoemWorks community, says, poetry is the kind of thing you see from the corner of your eye. It isn't life itself, it's a byproduct of life. And if you look at your life a certain way, you will see the poetry. If you look straight at it, you can't see it. But if you look a little to one side, it is there, like a star. First featured poet is Kerry Loughman, who is a retired educator and photographer living in the Boston area. As a late middle-aged woman confronting old age in the mirror every day, she tries to write with a sense of urgency, humor, and joy. Themes often deal with family, art, and nature in the city. Her poetry has appeared in journals including Nick's Mate Review, The Main Street Rag,
Mm.
Lily Poetry Review, and Passenger Poetry Journal, as well as on various websites. Please help me welcome Kerry.
Thank you very much, Richard, for that introduction, and to everyone else for being here tonight. Um, and thank you, Heather Nelson, for asking me last year, let's just do this again. It's great to read with you.
My pleasure, Kerry.
So I've been thinking about wandering poets lately because I recently gifted two dear friends bottles of Japanese sake labeled Rihaku, the wandering poet, named in honor of the 7th century Chinese poet Li Po, who was a major influence both on Chinese and Japanese poetry and Ezra Pound and a bunch of the other moderns. And I've been thinking of poetry that wanders, like mine. That it wanders through themes, time periods, formats, and poetic forms. In the 9 poems that I'm reading tonight, there's a duplex, a pantoum, a tritina, an American sonnet, and multiple free verse. So I hope you don't mind wandering with me. The first 4 poems are my memories of childhood. Kintsugi, which is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold, celebrating imperfection. I mend cracks in my heart with gold and reframe. In the debris of my family, fear buried our hearts. My family's buried feelings to fissure and part us. Fissures of feelings blood-coated, cold carried. Does my family blood reveal all that I carry? My lost child hungers for truths to build home. Truth buried so deep is a house, but badly honed. Because to be strong means freedom to falter, my failures rise strong into ether. Of altering, float free, soaked sheets, my nightly reprisal. Nightly I dream, write new tales for survival. Legacy tides pull under, I breathe my own name. Agile, imperfect, my breath balances blame. I mend cracks in my heart with gold and reframe. On our father's 2 years sober anniversary. This is for my brother and sister. Dad, you've gotten this far, so far. Not one drink in 2 years. So hard, with no clear forecast of cheer or health. Small bowl of vanilla ice cream in the evening. Not one drink in 2 years. So hard. You no longer stagger home, neighborhood fool. Small bowl of vanilla ice cream every evening. Although your old footsteps haunt our hearts, you no longer stagger home, neighborhood fool. Still, we three kids invent tales of other families to mute your old footsteps haunting our hearts. Sins of omission, sins of silence. We three kids tell tales for other families with no clear forecast of cheer or health. In sins of omission, sins of silence, always old footsteps haunt our hearts. With no clear forecast of cheer or health, who will write truth on history's page? Always old footsteps haunt our hearts, and surrounded by beauty, we all fall down. Who will write truth on history's page? You kept no photos, were a man of few words. Surrounded by beauty, you took the hard fall, lacking the image, the music, the urge. You kept no photos, were a man of few words, and no clear forecast of cheer or health. Small bowl of ice cream every evening only gets you so far when you've been missing, Father.
Hmm. Wow.
2 blocks from the Arboretum. Our mother never taught us how to love, not being loved enough, weaned on paucity. Do you remember losing me on Custer Street? I was 3, you 11, and loath to care for me who lagged behind. You turned a corner and were gone. My tears did not bring you back. I ran panicked the blocks to our house where you waited, pale and unrelenting, anti-Madonna of the splintered stair. By high school, you'd spun yourself so far away, I knew you only by your absence. Bereft, I ran solo under dawn redwoods. Embracing a perfect and necessary dark, I seed. Sister, you are still lost to me.
Hmm.
I was barefoot, tossing my flip-flops aside in the heat and running, burning the soles of my feet on city concrete. I was leaping manhole covers set in tar and debrading my winter skin with friction and popsicle freeze. I was skimming crabgrass in yards and jumping over gravel and glass hidden in the stubble. I was learning physics in the rainbow of sprinkler drops, stuttering parabolas spinning in the sun. I was running, going nowhere special except into the surety of wind draft and drag. I was refraction and reflection on speed, bent and bouncing on waves displaced. I was changing direction on a whim. I was perpetual rotation of dazzle light. I was an 8-year-old, unkept. I was dirt. I was sweat. I was flight. After that one, I needed drink because it.
Woo.
So this next poem, actually, the next 5 poems basically are ekphrastic. They're inspiration coming from paintings in museums or photographs that my husband and I have taken. And this next poem is also, I want you to think of consonants. Stephen Ratner, in his red poems, mentioned this last month in one of the poems he was discussing, that sometimes a poem is just about the consonants. Suburbia. The neighborhood is lush, leaves pearled with raindrops. Summer condensing on the skin of a chilled green glass. Sunshine lashes luminous, stripes barcodes on the street to brand unwary children running barefoot down the street. White camellia drapes translucent under weight of raindrops. Languid my eyelids, lulled by faux pastoral looking glass. Lubricious pride glides across green grass sharded with glass. A blue jay shrieks, attacks the sparrow fledgling in the street. Complacency tilts and spills, thirsting for one more raindrop. Through a lenticular glass, memory lingers long. Teardrops rain on Easy Street. Mm-hmm. The beauty of birches is that they go their own way. Blithely pin a chipmunk as lunch for a heron. Mansplay like drunks of the subway. Sometimes separate and fold into oak leaves. Feel their trunks thicken, bronze brindled limbs relinquishing the vertical of redwood and symmetry of pine for an earthier milieu. These birches are not as athletic as those of that famous poet. No bowing down like compliant snow maidens, no aspirations lofting a bedeviled boy off toward heaven. Rather, they shudder to rest and don't look for praise. Devolve into good neighbors, hosting demi-plates of fungi, stringently spaced. December limbs the scumbled skins of the fallen, and I feel Robert Frost in the light. Earth's the right place for love. Catching fire in sidelong glances, bearing weight enough to anchor our love's tendered branches. Sorry. Everything descends from a painting, A Seated Old Woman by Hyman Bloom at the MFA Boston. I am a woman unseen, on the street, in the museum line. I always smile at all I meet. Few people smile back. Most walk past fast, eyes cast inward, resistant to possibility. Just look at the way museum patrons crisscross in front of Bloom's painting, their eyes averted, intent on the ignis fatui of cell phone screens. And yes, the hopeless gray flesh hangs. Those breasts, grotesque. The reptilian nose drips and the sunken face waits. Fermented fruit. How could this be a subject to carry beauty in paint? What brushstroke or caress can succor this dying of the flesh? As for me, a ghost seated on a hard bench waiting for my lover, another child who's grown old. All our past desires, but bruises on the skin of shared memory. This I will become, this. I could close my eyes and choke on it. The penultimate poem. Hunger. The days grow scant. Slant light stabs the mid-afternoon. Some people say that wisdom comes with age, but even I hunger for 6 more bites of apple in the garden. 6 seconds of pause before deep freeze. In our bones, that familiar ache of December. 6 more breaths before dying. And my last poem is based on a photo done by my husband, which unfortunately you can't see. But it is called Reeds, Hall's Pond Sanctuary. At the pond, a heron uses backs of terrapin to cross October's jaded silt. In the mottled shade under paper bark birch, breeze vibrates reeds, tuning an orchestra. A geometry of origami birds trace an elegant cursive. Our paired bodies faking decomposition, moving the Mobius strip of fate back to start. Thank you.
Wow, Kerry, that was awesome.
Thank
I
you.
especially loved the pantoum to your father and how the pantoum braids these repetitions and the whole thought of just the material itself made the pantoum be realized. Each day, every day is a new day, and the circularity of the repeats really was very effective, I thought. And I admire your courage to speak to Robert Frost with the birches. That was amazing. Well done. Well done. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you all.
Up next, we have, well, let me first say, next month, we'll have Elizabeth Lund and Sarah Epstein. First Friday of the month. That would be February 7th. Well, Heather Nelson's first book of poetry, Motherland, is forthcoming from Kelsey Books in 2025. That is this year now. Heather has been a student of poetry since college. After a break, she returned to writing in 2011 and has since been published in Ifraxic Review, Lily Poetry Review, Nick's Mate, Spoon River Review, and many other publications. She currently leads a local free write group, runs workshops at Grub Street, and plans events for Lit Crawl and other community writing experiences. Heather is already working on her next book of poetry. Please welcome Heather.
Hey, Richard. Thank you so much for inviting us on. And it's really nice to see so many friends that I've written with, friends that I know from other places. It's just a warm audience tonight. So thank you so much. I wanted to mention, I was thinking when I was hearing Kerry talk, she very beautifully framed her work as poetry about wandering. And I thought kind of humorously that in a way mine is poetry about walking around my block. Since the pandemic, I've really realized more than ever that where I live is the stage set for my life and that everything's here in microcosm. There's some tragedy here, there's some drama here, there's beauty here, there's a lot of humor here. So it's mostly within a few block area of my house that I'm writing about a little bit as I'm starting out about going to the Y, which is the YMCA in Central Square is 2 blocks from where I live, and I've been spending a lot of time there. So I'll start with that. This one is called Self-Portrait. Watch me stretch my supple frame, ample mass, awful expanse. I fill the entire bedside mirror, floor to ceiling. Each morning my borders shift as I acquire more territory. I crawl into the belly of Central Square, a beast that contains heat compactly. I eat all I find, prowling the autumn blocks, looking for marrow to suck out of the tiny yellow leaves on the sidewalk. Outside the YMCA, my belly speaks in a voice that's deep, rumbling sonorous underfoot, like the subway passing beneath the swimming pool, beneath the undergrads, the yoga instructors, the spin doctors, this year's models, sucking everyone down. Next is called Halloween Crossing, written about a year ago. The yellow light blinks. It's late October. Hesitant by nature, I press the button. The voice tells me, as always, to wait. Also waiting at the corner is a woman saying she is transgender, looking for some money just to tide her over. As there's no money in my lavender hoodie, she compliments me on the color. The hoodie's a cast-off from my eldest, who no longer lives at home. 2 teenagers are in the house, looking at their phones. As the light cycle ticks, I muse, a little pissed, that I'm the only one left who cares about Halloween, who bought a pumpkin nonetheless. On Sunday, I overestimate my knife skills. Try to carve curves, but only cut chunks. It looks demented, says Sophia. Like you, crows Owen. Seeing my face, he takes it back. Sophia gives my arm a pat. It's what's inside that counts. Annoyed by the memory, I continue to yoga class. In Savasana, legs propped, back flat, I settle into my mat. Imagine that I'm giving birth to a lover or a sunflower. The energy orbs from my pelvis. Images pulse out between my legs, float away into darkness. All right, continuing at the gym. Interactive terrains on the elliptical. I forget that I'm not, in fact, hiking through the Argentine mountains, leaping from sandy canyons onto turquoise glaciers. In 45 minutes, my interval ends, and I've barely broken a sweat. I like to forget that motion isn't effortless. Then my body can skim the surface while my mind drifts off. I want to forget. I'm not disciplined. I'm always on the elliptical, moving through a lava-baked seascape without any increase of time or speed. I just do what I need, not to settle too long between sprints, to make the right asks of myself. I'm trying to forget that I'm bones inside skin, that I never have had an honest conversation with a hard ground. Instead, I glide on a cushion of umber November, on a notion that life doesn't end. Next poem is a little bit of a shift. I was trying out narrative poetry, and this was also a few years ago on the 4th of July. I don't know if you all remember, the same 4th of July, I think near Chicago, there was a shooting at a 4th of July parade, so that was on my mind as well when I was writing this poem, but I was still here in Central Square. 4th of July. Bread of bitterness, I mutter as I stalk through the living room, swooping down on a dirty coffee mug. As I drift into the kitchen, a black bean squelching under my bare foot. It's what I'm gnawing on. Stale bourgeois bitterness, like the 2-day-old baguette, like the stain on my leather sectional where I lie each afternoon, staring out at the basketball hoop, thinking of my oldest son, who's mostly gone. Because it's a holiday after all, I set out to buy picnic supplies. Beyond my row of brick houses is an abandoned lot, then a parking lot, then Prospect Street, too dangerous for children to cross. Caddy Corner at 5 Temple Place is an impromptu parlor set up right on the sidewalk, filled with mattresses, chairs, people, weed, fenced in by blue bikes, temporarily free. Back home, I packed canvas tote bags with snacks and jackets for our excursion. At 10 p.m., I head out towards the river with my husband and youngest son to watch the fireworks. In the small enclosure by the Greek Orthodox Church, someone sleeps on the ground, covered in a light blanket. By the cell phone store on Mass Ave, a young woman in a black dress dances, facing the glass. It's a new era in cannabis, quips Owen, our recent 8th grade graduate, as we walk through Graffiti Alley. Little Donkey's windows are open to the street, and its bar stools are full, cocktails and tapas. Whose bullets are we dodging tonight? The question stays unspoken in my head. Our feet walk ahead, seek prime real estate for fireworks viewing. A few feet of concrete on the ledge by the bridge. DPW trucks blockade the area, giving us a feeling we're protected, a feeling we're all together, perhaps at summer camp. Memorial Drive is closed, and every few minutes a kid on a bike comes whooping down the underpass, voice raucous and jubilant. After the grand finale, the crowd leaves together, filling the street, ambling along with our chairs and our strollers, our skateboards and our coolers. Turning the corner onto the block before our house, there's a tall man pushing a shopping cart full of bags and wearing a grinning monkey mask on the back of his head. He turns around and asks me how I'm doing tonight. I say, I'm fine, and he asks me in a serious tone, would you like me to sing a song for you? So the people who are nearby on the street are very much in my mind and come into my poetry and walk through, and we don't know what to make of each other, but I'm thinking about them. This is a little bit about that every day. I'm not quite sure what life is for, but I continue to open the front door several times a day. I'm sure to wear clothes like my neighbors, to breathe their air. I salute myself for achieving the most quotidian goals: crossing Mass Ave safely, retrieving cash and dry cleaning, skirting the guys shaking cups outside 7-Eleven, keeping close to the curb, just beyond their range. Like those guys, I'm waiting on change. I'm a pile of flesh which must rise, must eat, remove leaves from my hair, rinse dust from my feet. Each night I'm grateful for a bed off the ground, for a respite from the painful city of sound. Grateful that sirens are muffled by distance, that misery is stationary, left under the bridge. All right. A little bit happier poem about my own mobility and work called Number One Bus. This actually leaves Cambridge and goes just a little ways away. The rain is coming down harder than it was at 3 o'clock on Newbury Street. I'm wearing fluvogs, watching the boys in vans ride skateboards on the sidewalks, stepping around the woman who sleeps on the ground, glad to have a destination. A summons to what? I'm not sure, but I'm glad to work where families feel safe sending their children. Even if cranes loom on the waterfront and postmodern boxes jiggle like Jenga towers on the skyline. Even when the dark clouds mass over the river, I feel fine, because when I arrive in Cambridge, I meet Whitney out on the wet sidewalk, and we talk about wanting work and finding it. And then coming in a little closer to home. Surrounded. My ring expands along with my finger. It grows plump and swollen with me. It stretches to hold and bind fruit that won't stop ripening. In this circle, everything's elastic, but also impressionable, flesh deeply dented. I'm sullenly fond of the weight that holds me in my orbit, tugs me towards this house, keeps me firmly in one place. As heads float lightly past my window, rounding the corner, I'm embedded with the amber irises, stationary as a sour green quince. All right. This is a looking out my window poem. Cambridge Compass, October 7th. It's hard to say which way is west. Hard to locate the sun just as it sets. I'm lying under my windows to avoid detection, surveilling the neighborhood, prone to reflection. I suspect that sirens come from the east, that even now they're pulling up on my street, but I'm too far down to see who's under arrest. I left early from the corner protest. Some political Pollock in a red period, spattered blood on the bricks to show they were serious. Banners and barricades contend for my block. Big business prevails. Out, out, damn spot. This is penultimate poem also. Good. Good expression that we always use. Summer standstill. Stop scrolling through memories from 3 to 13 years ago. Stop looking for mirrors. Start looking out of your window. See who's moving away while you stay, fixated on the living room lamp as if it's your only moon. See how narrow your lane actually is. Stay put. Admit that you're comfortably parked in a car with adjustable seats, that it's been 30 years since you moved to this street. And last, this is called How to Fall. Let your pallor plumply proclaim that you'll be cushioned as you fall. Pad yourself in purple Patagonia. Gird yourself in gray Irish wool. When you fall, make sure to get spread and splayed like a Christmas tree. Thrown to the curb, holiday past, your pallor no longer ornamental. Crash despite the cash in your dark coach bag, despite the kind advice you offer, the kind of advice you wanted but never had. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Heather. It's a kind of poetry of witness, really. You're looking out. You're not self-involved. You're incorporating and bringing into your writing what you see around you, which is great. I love it. Well, up next we have another couple of voices from the room to share with us their work. And I want to start with Steve Nickman.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks for your beautiful work, Kerry and Heather. And Richard, I'm so glad you quoted Gide saying everything needs to be said again, because this poem was first published in 1904. And you probably all know the poem by Cavafy, Waiting for the Barbarians. And I thought I would do my own take on it to fit the current situation. And this is from the Edmund Keeley's translation. Waiting for the dictator. Why are all the people looking at their phones? Because they want to know what the dictator will do when he comes a month from now. 4 years ago, he sent his barbarians to lay waste the capital. They were jailed and he had to wait until the new election. Dictator comes, he will release them from prison. Why isn't anything happening in the Senate? Why do the senators sit there and make no laws? Because the dictator is coming next month. What laws can the senators make now? When the dictator comes, he will make the laws. Why are there closed signs on the government's doors? Why is our leader rushing to pardon officers who followed the laws? Why are so many people wearing red hats and red neckties? And why are foreign presidents suddenly traveling to Florida? Because the dictator has agents who will run the offices. They will accuse the old office holders of crimes. Red hats and neckties mean allegiance to the dictator. He has threatened our old allies. Why don't our statesmen advise the dictator, share their wisdom? Because the dictator is bored by rhetoric, doesn't believe in wisdom or science or friendship. Why this sudden restlessness, this confusion? Why are the streets emptying so rapidly? Why the serious look on the citizens' faces? Because the dictator has told us what he will do on the first day. They are frightened. He'll take away our old protections. We wondered if he would come, but now it's certain. And now what will become of us without a dictator? Someone like that was a kind of solution.
Love it. Love it. Reminds me of the word for the year, recrudescence. It's the return of something terrible
Yes.
after a time of reprieve. Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Up next, please welcome David Miller.
Oh, hi, everyone. Excuse me. Heather and Kerry, it's great to hear entire sets of poems from you both. That's really a great pleasure. Another word for the year, before I get into the poem. If you don't know the word kakistocracy, K-A-K-I, stocracy,
The worst
it's an
people
existing
ruling.
word. Government by the worst, not coincidentally related to caca. Okay. Seriously.
Like it.
But that has nothing to do with this poem. I don't think. Some of you may know, I hope at least some of you know the music of Charles Ives. I see a lot of heads. Yeah, early 20th century American composer, wrote a lot of music which still to this day a lot of concert goers don't accept. I got my first LP of his recording of his music, I think, when I was in the 7th grade. So here we go. Mr. Charles Ives and Me. His perpetual Danbury, Connecticut hat, plate-brimmed, puffed like a pumpernickel, old-fashioned, old-time, beyond satire. His father George, who set 3 bands to marching around the village square, different tunes, different tempi, training Charlie's ears. His composing on the commuter train, in his insurance office, in his mind, notes blasting across the music paper. His retreat deep backstage, in fright at a rehearsal he could not face, hidden from musicians he did not hear. His father, the town cornetist, who asked, why not fill a workaday octave with unheard tones, more than 12? His late diagnosed diabetes that ate him from the inside out while he raved against emasculation. His 4th of July, the whole orchestra, a rocket setting the town hall roof on fire, making a boy in Amherst, Massachusetts, startle beside the record player, then set the needle back into that fresh chaos. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Up next, please welcome John Engstrom.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Richard, for doing this, and thank you to the 2 poets that opened. That's really great stuff. I have a couple of pieces here. One of them, I'm not going to claim it's a villanelle. It's my attempt at one, and it's called a vanilla villanelle. Evil fish heads in a printer's tray swarming with rats, but he did it for the experience because he was so driven like Pops when the car swerved and crashed. In silence we sat, and the silence ran so deep we couldn't see each other, and silence a given, our family's version of table talk. Silence weeps. It was a throwaway journal that wouldn't pay a kill fee. Why does kill fee sound like something forbidden? And why, furthermore, does it rhyme with kill me? Blackbird, yellow beak, beatnik, benzodrine, Benedictine rope about your waist. But if'n there's a waste in your work, it is the waste of a libertine. Angels keep showing up in the Paris fashion season, as in A Man for All Schofield gobbles a flotilla of gizzards. On the way to Peoria, where we are not, with good reason. Party-colored clouds hasten across the blue dome, as in a boat ride on the river Severn. May flights of angels sing thee to thy rest home. Tell your inner pyromaniac to burn up Rome. So that's a vanilla villanelle. The next one is called Song of a Panhandler. Merry Christmas. I don't have a home. Merry Christmas. Missed Mississippi Mermaid. I don't have a home. Merry Christmas. Missed Mississippi Mermaid. Quick-witted scissors clip the spliff. I don't have a home. Merry Christmas. Missed Mississippi Mermaid. Quick-witted scissors clip the spliff. Miss Priss slips in piss bisque. I don't have a home. Merry Christmas. Missed Mississippi Mermaid. Quick-witted scissors clip the spliff. Miss Priss slips in piss bisque. Kiss, 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 kiss. I don't have a home. Merry Christmas. Missed Mississippi Mermaid. Quick-witted scissors clip the spliff. Miss Priss slips in piss bisque. Kiss, 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 kiss. Quicksilver wish fulfillment stimming. I don't have a home.
Thank you, John.
My pleasure.
And now
please
welcome Lee Varon.
Thank you, and thank you for a wonderful reading, Kerry and Heather. This is called She Explains Why She Won't Take Her Psych Meds. My deceased meditation teacher steps out of the blue twilight and speaks to me. Creases at the corner of his eyes deepen. He turns ever so slightly toward me. On psych meds, everything's in place. Boundaries don't shift. Dead teachers don't appear. And that's not all. A woman tells me she's an Indian princess. I believe her. Of course, I don't want anyone to slice their wrists and spill rivers of rubies onto the green linoleum. However, when birds settle onto the catatonics hairdo, I know to speak to them. I know when my meditation teacher says it's good, it's all good. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Up next, please welcome Kathy Whitham.
You're muted,
Okay,
Kathy.
I unmuted now. All right, sorry. The unmute my microphone sign came. I was all organized with my poem right here in my facial view, and then all the other techie things came up. All right. Okay, here we go. First of all, what a joy to see the workshopped beginnings of these beautiful poems that were read tonight, and to see them in their fruition and their beauty. Really amazing. All right, this is called Is the Ordinary World. Is the ordinary world a piece of punctuation? Now that's something to work with. Now that's something. To work with, try punctuation in different places, like arranging your home decor. What happens if you put the chair here? What does it say by the fireplace? What? Does it say by the fireplace or over here next to the couch? How do I read the world depending on punctuation? Can a comma change the world?
Nice. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please welcome Mary Beth Hines.
Hi, everybody. It's really nice to be here. It was great to hear Heather and Kerry read. And this is my first PoemWorks session that I've ever gone to. And so well, sometimes I really don't like social media. I'm really happy that I saw this on Heather and Kerry's Facebook. So it's great. Okay, so this poem is called Cold Storage Beach. December. Gales propel us down the shoreline. A couple of slow, lone humans, Audubon spotters, collecting bottle caps, glass, listless condoms, as we scour the flats for cold-stunned turtles, ridleys, greens, loggerheads. They paddle north each spring, hungry, driven. Then, summer crab fest over, frost threatening, hundreds linger too long, flail and thrash pell-mell in post-haste flight toward Florida, Mexico. Does it really matter that we rescue so few stragglers over weeks, years of looking? It's the effort that counts, we assure each other, though we know it's late to redress decades of missed chances, the times we saw and said, did nothing. In recompense now, we load our bags with trash and attend like whippets when we spot two sugar-shelled helmets glinting like stranded moons amid sea wrack. We circle, tent them with scarves, and wait, expectant sentinels, for rescue. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. And now here is Jonathan Aibel.
Great. Well, I'm going to continue on the theme of the ocean, of the beach, and pick up also on what Kerry touched on with fatherhood. Seascape with Unknown Man. This is published in the Rockville Vale Review recently. Where beach folds inward, salt mingles with fresh cove, and a creek just as he arrives, a man in white shorts and polo shirt. On the opposite bank, only one, good stepping stone between us. An hour-long minute, silence. Then he waves, invites me to step first, then his turn. Silvered hair, blue waters ruffled, green marsh grasses. If I had a camera, I'd want to take this feeling, this man, as if he were my father, as if we could spend a beach day flying a kite, our hands on the string. But I turn and meander inland until there's nowhere dry to step, and backwards retracing my sudden friend pushing off his metal dory. Tide's coming in, he comments, unships his oars, and rows up cove.
Thank you, Jonathan. And now here is Carla Schwartz.
Hi. Hi, everybody. What an amazing night of poems so far. And especially to hear Heather and Kerry tonight was really wonderful. And I've been writing a lot of Haibin lately. I actually am very excited that I got one accepted to the Rattle Haibin tribute. So I'm very excited about that. And but I'm going to read you a different one in the vein of Kerry's reading about a poem, at least one about her sister. And this one is called No Changes This Year. I wonder, do you hear us, Mother, when I speak with my sister? How would you go about trying to help her? You know, she'd only let you into her house because she knows you're dead. Ugh, it's almost the new year and I haven't made my wish yet. I wish you could see your daughter. No, not me, the other one, waddling around like an old wild turkey in her upstate house. The microwave sings its soft bell signal. My leg weights brush against each other when I walk. A naked man passes me in the living room. He smiles at me. I'm overwhelmed with exhaustion and want to nap. Would you please help my sister? She drives down to darkness each day. She knows it. She sees the wall in front of her, crashes her hands on a piano, and screams loudly into her phone. Go to her. Here's my key fob and to-go cup. I know. You don't know what to do with either. Speaking to the air, listening for the dead quiet. Thank you.
Wow. And now, Connemara Wadsworth, our penultimate poet.
Oh my. This was written when my husband was in the hospital, and after many surgeries, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Too much time, not enough. Cocooned in a room with helpless, faceless machines that can only measure beep, ring, and alarm, the silence is vast. Beyond the closed door, a central circle of nurses in their routines and prepared for any crisis. We have been here before. I keep my love company, try to keep worries hum from this monotony, the tedium of pain's message, something gone wrong, no reprieve. He gives himself over to those trained to test, who dare to mend. I fill in what my husband forgets to tell the doctors. We wait 2 days, a week. His interest in road and track evaporates, though the economist can pull him in. The emptiness begs our unspoken what ifs. 88 years comes soon, either cliff's edge or landmark. Is each hour gained or lost as mechanical beeps echo in the empty time given to our necessary entrapment? Still, we know what we want. Large windows grayed from pollution let in light. They look over a Rube Goldberg maze of massive ducts and chimneys. Each winds its way over, under, around what was there first, a willy-nilly landscape of nothing alive. A crow or two may perch on the windowsill, and the sun on their bodies glaze their black feathers temporarily. I see no crannies for tucking nests into this landscape of concrete and metal. What do they find here? A kind of safety? The afternoon sun is welcome, almost cheerful, but blinding enough to close the shades. It is easy to lose perspective in such a single focused place. When here for days with its spins and quiets, its engine is always on.
Wow. Thank you, Connemara.
Thank you.
As our mentor, Barbara Helfgott Hyatt, would say, poetry is there to make the unbearable bearable. You had me at cocooned in a room, and then you just went to an amazing place. Thank you.
Well, I'm trying to put a book together of the journey of all of this. Thank you.
And lastly, I will close things out with a poem. If anyone's interested in numerology, this happens to me once in a while, where numbers suddenly have some kind of significance. 33. Number of revolutions per minute of my long playing youth. My age when I read The Hobbit aloud to my daughter in utero. Age at which a hobbit reaches maturity. Street address where my marriage blossomed, leveled off, failed. Number of bottles of Rolling Rock in my fridge. Mystical number of my Masonic ancestors. Larry Bird's jersey. Degree at which ice water thaws. Atomic number of arsenic. Age angels always are. God's favorite number, calling his son back when he does. Number of vertebra in the human spine. Number of miners brought safely up. The Chilean anthem ringing in their ears.
Beautiful.
Well, there we have it, people.
Yay.
What a night. What a night. Unbelievable.
Thanks so much, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you.
This was wonderful.
Comments?
Good.
A silent reverence.
Yes.
Oh, the people of words are suddenly speechless.
It's a good way to start this year, which at least, and I'm sure everybody else feels a lot of apprehension about. So this is a hopeful gathering, I think, and let's stick together.
That's right.
And with the cold that's coming, this is especially nice.
And please use recrudescence as often as you can in poetry.
Recrudescence. What does that mean?
It's when a terrible thing we have a hiatus from returns. Recrudescence.
And what was your word, David?
Pakistocracy. I'll put it in the chat. And I didn't make it up either. Here you go. Find it.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Heather. Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone,
It was
for
really
coming.
wonderful
It's
reading.
great.
Good to see everyone.
Happy New Year.
See
Great
you
way to
next
end our
month.
first week.
Have a good
Stay
evening.
strong.
Yeah.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.